myself. I've recently become Special Education Needs Manager in North East Sussex. And what that means is that I oversee and part of the decision making as to whether children should have statements of special educational needs. And I also look into the provision regarding those children, well, provisions in place for them, and also placements as well. And so along with this, this role that I do, I am responsible for a number of budgets and also the team of people who put these processes in place. And this has just happened in the last, since July 1st, the next year manager. But what my paper is focusing on my ongoing research into my practice. And this particular paper is specifically focusing on my role as a senior inclusion officer in the authority, which is what I was when I wrote the paper. And I'm focusing specifically on my contribution to the development and skills of special educational needs coordinators. Okay? So that's a little bit sort of a background about me, about myself. Right, in conducting my research, I have adopted a living theory methodology. Jean, please note there's just one capital L there, okay? But it was very interesting, the conversation we had just started now, and I'd be very interested to carry on that conversation, not only today but at other times as well, because it's really interesting what we're saying. I've conducted a living theory methodology whereby I look at how do I improve what I am doing. I look at my values and ask, am I living my values in my practice, or am I negating? Am I in a job whereby my values are negated? To what Jack Whitehead calls am I a living contradiction? So these are the things I look at when I'm reflecting on my practice. I look at what the educational influences are in my learning and in the learning of others. I use action reflection cycles as I inquire into how I can improve my practice. So I will start looking at what my concern is. Why am I concerned about the skills and knowledge of special educational needs coordinators? So what can I do about it? So if I'm concerned about it, what can I do about it? What can I do to put that in place? I can then put things in place and then reflect on what my educational influences are. I reflect on there how my values are living in the work that I do regarding the development of skills and knowledge of special educational needs coordinators. And then I modify my concerns accordingly. So that is the sort of action reflection sort of cycle that I look to when I'm sort of looking at my practice and how I can improve my practice. Narrative inquiry is also linked to the action research process, where practitioners, write stories and then inquire into their stories and look at, how they're living their values in the practice and how they can improve. And video also is something that I'm sort of using more and more. And when I did my master's, my MA, which I completed in 2009, I did a multimedia dissertation then, which consisted of a number of video clips, whereby I sort of look at the video clips and reflect on my practice. And I think that they are really quite insightful as to how you do doing regarding to your practice. But I think if I could just give you some of my professional background for you to understand where I am coming from. Why I am so concerned about the skills and knowledge of special educational needs coordinators. And if I could go back right to the beginning of my career, I've always been in special educational needs. It's a career that I chose, it's a career that I wanted to do. I started off regarding my training, teaching of infants. And after a teaching practice in Jersey, which was wonderful, a lovely place to have a teaching practice, I was there for 6 weeks, great. I decided it's not what I wanted to do. It was my final teaching practice. I did not want to teach infants. I wanted to teach secondary school children, I decided, and I wanted to teach children who were then called remedial children. Okay? So I started off in a secondary school, and it was an extremely challenging school. I was there for about 7 years. It was on the sort of edge of city, just on the just on the edge of the red light district. So it was an extremely challenging time, particularly starting off at a school like that. But my goodness, did I learn a lot. It was a huge learning experience for me, and I learned then so much about special educational needs. I learned so much about the teaching of special educational needs, and it's quite an unforgettable time for me, very significant for me, that particular time. I taught in secondary schools for about 14 years, and then I had a break and had babies and travelled with my husband, and so I gave up for a number of years. But then I went back as a specialist support teacher, teaching children within a small local authority and going into the different schools and teaching children with statements for special educational needs. Then I became a Senko in a primary school, and that again, when I took on that job, I was quite shocked, quite surprised at how challenging I found it, because I considered myself to be very experienced regarding special needs, teaching of special needs and so on. But then a completely different skill set came into place with being a Senko, because now I had to coordinate special educational needs within the school. I had to look at the SEN strategic direction of special educational needs in the school. I had to look at the managing of teaching assistants, the process of organising annual reviews and putting in requests for statutory assessments. So it was new skills I had to learn, and I never forget, you know, sometimes being awake at night, worrying about the job and so on. So it was quite, that again was quite a significant time for me. Then I joined Bath and North East Somerset Local Authority Children's Service, became an inclusion officer, and then a senior inclusion officer. And I was really pleased to have that opportunity of continuing working with Senkos in that authority. And that is what I've been doing. I've been with the local authority now for about 7 years, and so I've been very, very much involved in work with Senkos. But I've got a video clip here, and perhaps you can see the pleasure that I have in working with Senkos, having sort of started working in the local authority, and I'm hoping that this is going to that's the thing with the video, we don't know.
Well, how does that sound, Chris?
That sounds fine. Yeah, that sounds fine. Yes.
Can we start there?
Yes, okay then, let's make a start. There's a few things I suppose I want to say really, and it's just connecting out some of the thoughts that I've had. So looking really back to last week, some of the things that have happened throughout the week, which I particularly enjoyed. I've been spending a lot of this week working with Senkos. So last Wednesday afternoon, I was involved in training regarding new Senkos, and there was a real buzz about it. You know, and at the end, the evaluations showed that the Senkos really felt that this was beneficial. And there was that connection then with the people in the room, and there was Lyndon Jones as well, so we were working together, so on. And there was that lovely connection. And on Friday then, we had a workshop for all Senkos, just going through various things regarding the job and so on. And there were a group of us from the Inclusion Support Service, and there again, it was that lovely feeling of a connection between us all. The evaluations again were very good, and we as an Inclusion Support Service, we all felt as well, wow, this is good, and we all came out feeling we want to do more of this. And then on Thursday, Thursday there was an early years Senko conference for early years specialist coordinators, and there were about 100 there, and I was actually sort of speaking at this conference, and there again there was a buzz about it, this connection and this feeling of, you know, this is good, we're really enjoying it, so we're getting something out of this. So I'm just sort of thinking of that really, throughout the week whereby I felt these connections. I think
that's just a sort of brief sort of clip. I can just get back again. Marie, this is where I call on Marie. Now then, I I think you can see there the pleasure that I had in working with Senkos, but I think thanks very much, Marie. But I think what that video clip does, it gives us something that I find very difficult to capture in my writing. I can write about that, but when you actually see the video, and that feeling of that pleasure, I feel can be transmitted, I believe can be transmitted across. And I think in my writing, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sort of capture the video clip, incorporate that then with the writing, and then I think something then can be produced, which is quite sort of significant. But obviously it'd be really good to have that sort of feedback as well, because that's really important for me, to have that feedback. You know, are you seeing what I'm seeing there? Are you seeing that pleasure that I have in working with Senkos, in wanting to do the best I possibly can in that connection? Okay then. So let's move on then. So what is my contribution then to the development of skills in working with Senkos? What have I been doing? I feel very committed to it. So what have I done? First of all then, when I first joined the authority, Senkos would come to me and say to me and ask me, you know, if there was any training regarding the day-to-day job of Senkos. There was lots of training regarding special education needs, strategies, interventions and so on, but there was nothing specific about the day-to-day job of a Senko. And so I decided that I would put on this course. There were 6 sessions throughout the year, and it would focus, and I asked Senkos, look, what do you want? They told me what they wanted, you know, the process of annual reviews, managing teaching assistant. It was all the things that I had found challenging when I became a Senko myself. So I put on this course, and as I say, it lasted 6 sessions throughout the year, and we'd have people in from the local authority presenting and so on. So the Senkos, not only did they start sort of getting to know each other and network with each other, they started to get to know the people within the authority, the external support service and so on, which they found very, very valuable. I ran that course for 4 years altogether, and then the National Award for SEN Coordination came in, which I thought was just fantastic, because up until that point, anybody could be a Senko, a teaching assistant could be a Senko, you didn't need any training at all, and yet you're dealing with statutory processes. So I hugely welcomed the National Award for SEN Coordination. And you know, in 2006, the former Education Skills Committee, they had expressed huge concerns about the role of Senko regarding the status, the training and so on. And then Education Regs 2008 came in, and they stated that all Senkos must be teachers. So that was, again, a huge shift. And then in 2009, it then became mandatory that all Senkos would have to get this award, the National Award for SEN Coordination. So right from the beginning, I was there, and I went up to the consultation conference, and I linked then with Bath Spa University, who is now a provider, also linked with 2 other authorities, and we formed this partnership. The 3 authorities, Bath Spa University, we formed this partnership. We put this into our bid as well about the partnership, and Bath Spa became then the provider. We worked very, very hard to get it in place by September. This was about May. We worked very hard to get this course in place by September, which we did do. And that started in 2009, and now we're just about to take on our 3rd cohort. It's at a master's level, 60 credits towards a master's level, not without its challenges at all. Senkos sometimes find it extremely challenging, the course, because not only are they new to role, because they have to be new to role to do the course, not only are they new to role, but they also have to do assignment at master's level as well, 60 credits at master's level. But this is what we're working through. They have mentors as well to mentor them through, experienced mentors. And that's something that the TTA is highly commended the course for, because the mentoring support from experienced Senkos and authority is very, very much highly valued, and Senkos do feel very supported by it. And then also the local authority Senko conferences, with which I've been fortunate to be involved in right from the beginning as well, regarding the organisation and planning of Senko conferences. And each year we have about 120 people attend, And that consists not only of Senkos, but there again, the external support services as well, the learning support team, behaviour support team. So there's this opportunity once a year for everyone to get together and sort of focus on what is actually going on that specific year, the national picture of what's happening in that particular year. This year, for example, we've got our conference in October, and we're focusing on the role of the Senko in the light of the SEN Green Paper. Green Paper has just been produced, and there are going to be very, very significant changes as a result of that. And so that is one focus. We've got a speaker for that. We are looking also at achievement for all, good practice in schools. 5 minutes, thank you. And also we are sort of going to be looking at improving outcomes for children and young people, and we've got a speaker for that as well. And we always choose lovely venues, because I never forget when I became a Senko and attended my first Senko conference. We went to Coombe Lodge. I think it was the first Senko conference we put on in the authority. And I was just overwhelmed at this fabulous place. It was lovely food. And I just felt so valued as a Senko. It was so fabulous. And I think it's really important, you know, this idea of a lovely venue, nice food, all of us getting together for the day. And, you know, from each of these things I've done, the evaluations have been very good, and it encourages me to go on, and I'm still sort of really so highly motivated to sort of work with Senkos as best I can regarding the development of skills and knowledge. So then, as far as so that's what I've done, that's my sort of contribution, but yeah, okay, so what? As far as my research is concerned, I am aiming to understand my own learning, and also the influence of that on my actions, how my actions have been influenced. So, you know, I reflect and I look at what I've done, and I ask myself, with regard to the Senkos and the work I do, am I living my values in my practice? And from sort of feedback I receive, from video clips, I've seen that's video clips, just an example, from my speaking with colleagues and so on, I do believe that I am living my values. I do believe that I'm living such values as an openness towards the Senkos, and openness regarding the people I work with. I believe that I am showing commitment and a dedication to what I do, and a number of other values as well. And then these become living standards of judgment on which I judge my practice. Okay, so what? I believe that. I am making those claims. But how do I know those claims are valid? Unfortunately, the authority I work, we have what we call a conversation cafe, whereby people within the local authority get together, we discuss our work, we discuss our values, are we living our values in our practice? We take our writings along, and they become a validation group. And I took, and also we look at Habermas's 4 criteria of social validity as we look through the writings. So we ask ourselves such things as, is what I am writing, is it comprehensible? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is the account truthful? Are the claims I'm making sufficiently supported by evidence? Do you feel that my account is sincere? Do you see that I'm committed to living my values? And is this account appropriate, you know, within the context and the background within which I work and the culture within which I work? So these are the questions we ask when we take our accounts along. And I'd just like to read out Nigel's, I took this along to my conversation cafe, and I had lots of feedback. I amended my paper accordingly. And then I had some emails, that's often followed up my emails, and Nigel sent me this. We mentioned the other day that your paper was good, which it is, but it did not really express the essence of what you do in your everyday relationships. What I think is missing from your account is you, the way you welcome people into the room, the way you demonstrate your inclusive values, the way you're passionate about inequalities. Your passion for improving the life chances of vulnerable children is demonstrated every day. If you tie in the macro bit, the big picture, Senko conferences, Senko training, with what you personally do to engage others, the micro bit, I'm sure you will find this enhances your account. Now, I am really taking this on board. That, to me, is really, really valuable for me and really, really useful for me. Because, with regarding my ongoing research, I feel I've got to look at the macro bit, but also that micro bit as well. That bit of what is me and what I am trying to do to influence things. And so, as I said when I started, I've recently been appointed as Statutory SEN Service Manager. But whatever, I'm going to continue to reflect on my practice, to live my values, and to do the best I can to improve outcomes for children.